Life starts out so slowly, we stumble in growing. Our parents give their best years and they're still left wondering, will it all be okay? Will it all be okay? Will it all be okay? And I can still remember like it was just a dream, the first time that I tasted what it meant to be free. But freedom has its price tag and it always asks for more. With my whole life in my hands, what could I afford? And would it all be okay? Would it all be okay? Would it all be okay? And I learned it again. I learned time holds all the cards and we still have to play. I learned to take nothing for granted, let go of regrets along the way.
Hi, this is Will Nunziata, and I am joined by the acclaimed singer, songwriter, storyteller, voice artist. She does it all. Angela Elia, how are you?
I'm so good. So happy to be here.
Angela, so nice to meet you, and I'm so excited that the audience just got a sneak peek of your original song, Be Okay, that was actually made into, as the audience saw, an animated music video by a publishing house. I need to hear the story, Angela. Go.
So years ago, I was connected with some poets, and we did this really cool event where I was randomly assigned one of their poems. They turned it into a song, and the poet that I worked with, we became friends and stayed in touch. And she, as it would turn out, her and her partner have an amazing graphic novel publishing company. And so I think it was in 2020, they approached me and they said, we're making a really amazing book. It's an intersectional feminist anthology of poems. And I was like, check, check, check. Great. Like all those words, check. And we would like to use your song for the trailer, like to promote it. It just really fits the vibe of the core of like what this anthology is going to be about. And I had really no clue what it was going to look like. I didn't have any like direction in it. I just trusted them completely. And it is this really beautiful, moving, animated piece that just worked so well with the song. Because the song is all about like that life is often incredibly hard, but it's going to be okay. Like it's like you have to just hold on to something.
What a perfect message for times like these. I mean, well, first and foremost, I want to lean into something, Angela, because when I saw that you called yourself a storyteller, I loved it, because even before I saw that and just researching you, I was like, oh, this is a true artist who is a storyteller. And the fact of the matter is, I think, Angela, you're a perfect example of an artist who literally does everything that you put your mind to, and then almost like letting go and allowing the world and the universe to figure out how to use it. Like, I think this is like a perfect example of that. I'm curious to know where you got that like tenacity and courage to kind of not box yourself in what the world, I think, sometimes likes to do with artists, which is like, you know, put them in a box because it's easily digestible for them. I'm curious, like, where you got that courage to just be like, I'm gonna do it all. And then also, I'm curious, second question, where you were born and when you realized you had a great singing voice, and then later on, you wanted to be also like a songwriter. All the questions in one. Barbara Walters on speed, go.
That's your new tagline, by the way, for you as an interviewer. Yeah, beautiful.
TM.
TM. Trademark it. So to your first question,
yes,
I think it's because that's how I grew up and how I've always been in terms of I've always been a big girl my whole life, so I was never in the box. They couldn't fit me in the box, lol. But also that I'm a queer artist. So there is, you can't, I'm not in the box. I'm not in the box that I grew up seeing. My idols when I was a little kid were Celine Dion and Christina Aguilera, thin, straight women. Like, and I am a, you know, plus size, queer, non-binary femme. So I think that that's just sort of, it's part of kind of how I identify as a human being. And then by extension of that, it's how I see the world. There is, obviously there's boxes that are made to try to put us in, but no human being could fit in those, even if they seem like they can, you know?
Amen. Amen. Angela, where are you born?
So I was born in Philadelphia.
Yeah.
Moved around a lot as a kid.
Yeah.
But I always just, whenever people ask, I'm like, I'm a Northeasterner. Lived mostly in Long Island and New Jersey. And I've been in New York City for 14 years. So really, I'm a New Yorker.
You're a New Yorker, baby. Angela,
the heart of my heart.
I wish there were more artists like you, just who live unapologetically, but also still doing the work. But obviously, you've done a lot of work on yourself to be able to use your skill sets, your talents, and your craft, like to spread some goodness in the world. And I'm curious to know, during these last 18 months that were obviously hard for everyone, but especially artists, how you were able to A, stay positive, but also B, keep your creative juices flowing.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I had an incredibly hard time, as we all did. And I have PTSD, generally speaking. It's another thing that I'm very passionate about, is mental health and mental wellness, and like talking about it. And so a lot of things were coming up for me, and I really, really struggled mentally. And something that I did, that I have actually, this will be my premiere even talking about it in the world, is I wrote a project that I had been thinking about for a long time, which is effectively a one-woman show, using my music, but also using stories that kind of came from a really rough dating experience that I had during the pandemic, but tying in a lot of other stories from my life that I had been swirling around in my head, and my fascinations with science and with like physics. And it's a really interesting sort of amalgamation of a lot of different passions. So it wasn't something that I was public with. And I think that was part of what that's part of what made it something that helped me, was that I didn't have any pressure to be like, let's get it out there. Let's get likes, views, shares, people showing up, money. Like, there was no pressure. It was the first time in a long time that I've worked on something creative purely because it was my passion.
It's amazing. I mean, I know a lot of people who also suffer from PTSD, and the trauma that has been these past 18 months still triggers. I know many of them, and I'm sure you. And the fact that you have been able to filter through your creative storytelling being a one-woman show that people are now going to one day be able to see, feel, and hear and relate, because a lot of people aren't talking about it. A lot of people, I mean, thank God we have people like you, Simone Biles, Naomi Osaka, talking about mental health as not a weakness, but as something to be talked about as, coming from a strength to even talk about it. I'm at a loss for words, only because I'm getting a little emotional, only because PTSD runs in my family, and also with the very, very close people in my life. I want to know for you, though, what you are optimistic about in terms of getting this show up and running. I mean, I'm a theater director. I'm excited. What are you?
I want you front row. Please.
Don't comp me in, baby. I'm paying.
Oh yeah. No.
Oh wait. Like, I hate when people are like, "Will you want a comp?" I'm like, no.
giving you my money. I love that. That's so beautiful.
Gotta support the artists. Hello, I'm an artist myself. What are you most excited about the one woman show? And again, what are you also optimistic about in terms of getting the show out there and how it can help maybe, the young Angelas out there who may not feel like they have a voice?
Yeah. Whew. I mean, I'm really excited. Like I shared with you before we started chatting, that I saw my first Broadway show this past weekend since the reopening, and it was palpable. The energy was palpable. I can't wait to be back on stage in that way. Like, obviously, I've not ever done that kind of acting before, but with this project specifically, it really centers around the narrative of like simultaneously coming to terms with like my PTSD and like things that are coming up for me inside of a really hard moment. And bigger questions of like life and the universe and what are we doing here, because they often intersect for me. So I think what I'm really hopeful and optimistic about is sharing that point of view. Like I've come to make, out of my experiences, I've come to make a worldview for myself that had to rationalize some really crazy things happening to me, and had to try to make sense of them. And especially after this past year and a half, we've all had to try to make sense of something basically irrational. So I'm really excited to share that with people and hope that it gives them a little bit of that kind of groundedness and hope, and that we live inside of this universe that is at its core pretty chaotic and wild, but the universe is also within us. Like we're so much more than we think we are when we are at the start of any journey. So I'm hoping that people will get to like experience that for themselves.
That's amazing, Angela. And like I said before, it seems like as a storyteller, because of your unapologetic just putting things out there, the universe sometimes seems to figure out a way to digest it in some way, shape, or form. And the fact that in a very dark time, you somehow were able to choose light. And from that courage to take the leap of faith, to be vulnerable and start creating this one woman show, for me, for you, like, it's like, of course, the universe was like, Angela, by the way, this is going to be the time in your life where every tool in your tool belt are going to be used. Singer, songwriter, storyteller, a voice artist, someone obsessed with, science and the universe. It's like, and I think it's a perfect example of someone who leans into their vulnerability, and from that scary place can come the magic of exploring the possibility. And, again, I'm thinking of like the young Wills and the young Angelas. I didn't have many people to look up to as a kid, being a young queer kid, but you're someone that I definitely would, because I do now.
Thank you so much. Well, likewise. And you just have such beautiful energy. This has been like a joy to talk with you. Thank you for letting me share all of this.
No, I mean, like, this is like one of the main reasons why I love doing these interviews, is because I get to meet incredible artists like you. It's like we're so close in this city called New York, and I'm incredibly moved by your story, and also you have an it factor about you, Angela. And I think you know it, but you don't know it, but you do, but you're probably too humble to admit it. But you have an it factor because you have a relatability, at the same time an enormous talent that I think in your gut, as a vessel, you're just meant to give it away. And it's just a beautiful thing that the world gets to witness it. And I can't wait to see your one woman show on Broadway. I'll be there front row.
Well, from your lips to God's ears, thank you so much. That is a high praise, especially coming from you. Thank you.
Thank you, Angela.